Good morning, I'm Julio Saenz along with Mauricio Riveros. Today we meet Jarrett Felton, who started his own successful wealth management firm in the middle of the pandemic.
We hope you will be inspired.
Celebrating leaders in Rochester's unique and vibrant business community. We'll meet entrepreneurs whose passion and perseverance have helped push through life's challenges. Join us as we share their stories and journeys to success. It's time to be inspired.
Jarrett, thank you very much in Be Inspired, a show that we develop to inspire our community. Interview people like you who are entrepreneurs, people who are investing. Great things are happening in Rochester, and we want to really highlight this. For that reason, let's start with your interview. Who is Jarrett?
That's a great question. And I think that every day that I'm fortunate enough to breathe, I learn a little bit more about myself. But I think that, at the essence of who I am is I just love to help people and change lives. And I think that's ultimately what led to the opportunity for me to branch out and start my business. Ironically, it just happened to coincide with the beginning of COVID. So I started June 2020 of last year. So some would say that's pretty wild and crazy to time it that way. But when you're inspired and it's time to move, it's time to move. So that's who Jarrett is.
That is wonderful. So tell us a little bit about your business and what you guys do specifically and how everything started.
Sure. Man, that's such a short question that warrants such a long answer, but I'll try not to put everyone to sleep. But basically, I've been in this space of finance, more specifically wealth management, for a total of now 17 years. 39 years old as of just this past Sunday, June 13th. So it's almost half my life. Even though I'm only 39, this is really all I know. Ever since undergrad, I graduated in May of 2004, and I started here just soon thereafter in the very same year. My passions kind of led me to numbers at a very young age. And upon graduating in the space of business administration and concentration in finance, I found myself in a position working at a major securities firm on MetLife space and their platform. So I was at MetLife Securities and MetLife themselves from 2004 to 2012. And then from 2012 to 2020, I was at Merrill Lynch Global Wealth Management under the Bank of America umbrella, along with U.S. Trust. So, and then as of June 2020, I decided to branch out, start my own firm, still in the wealth management space, but a little bit different. So the other part of your question was, what do I do, right? So everyone hears wealth management. There's investment guys running around. There's people helping you with build your credit, helping you with budgeting. There's all sorts of different people running around wearing different hats or proclaiming to. Well, after 17 years in that space of working for Fortune 500 companies, I took some of the bad and I decided that I just wanted to kind of skip and gloss over that. I took the concept of that big brand name feel and bring it more on a boutique platform to make it able to cater to certain demographics of people, not necessarily based on race, not creed, not religion, not anything like that, but really just offering people that are looking for the type of work that I can provide, the ability to deliver. Not everybody at the end of the day wants that big company, big brand sort of feel. They want to know that they can work with a company that can ultimately deliver, but at the same time, still know their name, still know their anniversary, still know their kid's name, their dog name, their anniversary of their business, things of that nature. So I still want to offer those types of products and services in a sense, product meaning me, and my staff. Whereas traditionally product would mean stock, bond, mutual fund, annuity, right? So at the end of the day, my company is split into three different parts. The first part is the wealth management and coordination. The wealth management and coordination piece is really just making sure that when I engage with someone, making sure I understand all the stuff that they've been through in their life from a financial perspective, all the, as I call it, the footprints in the sand, making sure that I understand that if they are married, not married, second marriage, sometimes third marriage I've seen, that they have certain aspects together in their wealth management, which is really taking a look at asset side of the balance sheet as well as the liability side and making sure if they have a will, right? A lot of people may or may not even know what that is, but if they do, have they done one? If they haven't, do one. And if they have, when's the last time it was updated, right? We want to make sure that they have things done such as powers of attorney, making sure that they're durable, making sure they have the healthcare proxy. And the reason why that one area of my business is wealth management and coordination, the coordination piece is making sure that we coordinate with whatever financial professionals that they do business with so that we make sure that they have the right team around them. Because I think our environment really does dictate our altitude. So making sure that if we have to engage with their accountant, making sure we engage with their attorney, we can do that too. And me and my staff are trained and as far as how to understand and speak their language, meaning the attorney and the accountant. So that way the client at the end of the day ultimately gets the same information from all sources that are surrounding them. Because the worst thing that you could possibly do is go ask one person for something, they'll tell you one thing, go somewhere else, and they tell you something different. That just sucks, quite frankly. So we want to make sure that all of that is in alignment. The second piece is the investment and advisory services. So that's really for people that would come to us that already have accumulated wealth, right? So that's just making sure that whatever that they're investing in, whether it's inside of a retirement account through work and a 403B, a 401k, a TSA, that sort of space, we make sure that they're allocated properly, making sure the holdings they have inside of that type of account is going to be one that's conducive to ultimately where they want to be down the road. So they hit their goals, right? So for those that have those retirement plans, for those that have money that's not inside of a retirement plan, is that helping you or hurting you on a tax or less tax favorable basis? So without getting too deep, it's really just making sure that the investments or the accounts that they have the right investments in there so they ultimately hit the goal that they set forth to us initially. And then the last piece is the financial planning and analysis. And man, oh man, that's the fun stuff, because I don't think that you can get anywhere in life unless you have a plan or a goal and a roadmap and an engine to get you there. So we're the engine. We take our conversation, turn it into a roadmap, and ultimately you give us the goal, and we just make sure that we can help you get you from A to B, just really sidestepping any sort of hazards or roadblocks and just kind of moving you along. So those are really the three areas: the financial planning and analysis, the wealth management coordination, and the investment advisory services.
Jarrett, that's a very impressive story, and I love your capacity to adapt and to be able to build an incredible career now and be a professional and helping the community, helping people to really have a good and wise investment. And in that area of investment, no one has the magic ball. We are just coming out, hopefully, of this pandemic. But fortunately, it seems like the market has been reacting very well in general. And so what's your take in terms of, perspectives and your outlook of how things are looking moving forward for investments and things like that?
Sure. That's a wonderful question. It's one that I get the most. The thing about having your own business, I don't got to go ask the boss if I can speak freely. Hey, I'm here, right? So let me just get right to it. I think in my personal opinion, the world was looking at us to see what was going to happen with the presidency. If you really think about what was going on and the big shift of power between Trump and Biden, right? Did we know that Biden was going to win? I didn't know. I mean, I really wasn't sure as to what was going to happen. But one thing I can tell you is that, if based on where we are when the presidency shifted over and the thought process and the outlook of the market, I feel like the sentiment was, now that there's a Democrat in power, Biden's in power, oh, he's old, he doesn't know what he's doing. I heard all sorts of stuff, right? Everyone has an opinion on that. But I think the outlook on the market was it may not do as well under Democratic rule. I mean, that's just kind of historically what I've been told, taught, seen, and actually kind of studied, and I've only been doing it for 17 years, right? I'm not looking at a decorated career of 30, right? Not yet. So I think that based on where it landed after the presidential shift, after the inauguration to now, the market's up quite substantially, as you alluded to. A lot of people feel like that's based on, just nothing, right? Like a false valuation, and what I tell people is that, whether it's a good economy or whether it's a bad economy, there's always room to make money if we're looking at it from the perspective of investing in the stock market. And once again, it depends on what exchange you're looking at, right? It could be the New York Stock Exchange, or it could be the NASDAQ. It could be, there's a number of different exchanges, right? Even options, but it just depends on where you're looking. And I think whether it's a Republican at the helm or it's a Democrat at the helm, there's always going to be opportunities to make money. So I think if we are first and foremost good stewards with our money in our households, that'll give us the disposable income, assuming we have the foundation built. As long as we make sure that our household is actually okay, then when it comes to having that disposable income or what we're looking to invest, we can be a little bit more mindful of the decisions that we're making. So whatever we're investing in, whether it goes up or down, you never really lose until you sell out. But my personal opinion on whether the market's going to continue to trend up, people are like, hey, Jarrett, are things going up? I do a lot of stuff on social media, and my answer is, yeah, I think it's always going to go up. I think it just depends on when you get off the ride. That's my opinion. If people are looking to invest from the standpoint of making some quick money, that's probably the wrong attitude to take. I have big conversations nowadays are cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins and Ethereums and, what's going on in there, and then we got options and then we got, there's a lot of different things that are out there, which I think they all have their rightful place when it comes to doing investing. But when it comes to building wealth, there's nothing better than good old consistency. There's nothing better than good old tried and true investing in the companies that are paying dividends, that are going to be there for a while, which granted, no crystal ball, we don't know for sure, but the only thing we can base it on is historical performance and how well they've showed up and rebound after some pretty bad times when the economy went down, right? Just because the economy went down in 08, the stock market went down, the index, not every company went down in September 11th when the planes hit the towers, not, in 08. With the housing market crash when the market went down, or even last year during the pandemic. Amazon, what did Amazon do last year? It was through the roof. It did amazing. Salesforce, that's another good company. Tech, right? Quarantine, we're home, we can't get out. What do? We need an outlet as humans, social interaction. Let's hop on the computer like we're doing right now, right? So there's always an opportunity to make money. And I think the people that are good stewards with their money inside their household, it's going to give them more disposable income. So now they can take some chances when it comes to investing in other areas of their life to grow their net worth and their wealth. But there's always an opportunity, no matter who's at the helm, Republican or Democrat, or who knows what party will be created down the road. But more importantly, I think if we just do our due diligence before we make the investments, I think we'll be okay. But that's really my take on it. I think the market's always going to go up. Sure, it just depends on when you get off the ride.
Well, thank you, Jarrett. We'll be back with more after these messages. What inspired you to start your own business? Do you remember that first time that light started going off? Like, hey, I could turn this into my own business.
Right. So in this space of wealth management that I'm in, it's been on my mind for probably the past 5 years. Could I do it? Should I do it? I don't know. I'm too young. I need gray hairs. I need more experience. There were all these things that I kept telling myself. But at the end of the day, it got to a point where the perfect storm took place, and the perfect storm was COVID. A lot of people have, stories of COVID, impacting their lives in negative ways. Quite honestly, unabashedly, and with no regret, do I sit here and tell you, COVID was the best thing that ever happened in my world. It was the absolute best thing that ever happened in my life personally. I've never been in the best physical shape. I have a business that was 6 figures in less than 60 days on an annual basis. It's probably going to profit close to 7 figures, probably in the next 12 to 16 months. It was the best thing that ever could have happened to me. And I think a lot of that boils down to just the mindset you have when you make the decision. I think some people hesitate, and you cannot hesitate. As an entrepreneur, you have to be able to bob and weave, and also to be able to adapt and adjust. If you go in and you're kind of timid, this world is a dog-eat-dog world. It will eat you up, chew you up, and spit you out, right? So I think for me, my mindset was, well, I guess I'm in it. I left during the pandemic. There's no turning back now, so there really was no turning back, but it got to a point where I was like, now would be a good time. And I think, honestly, a lot of it had to do with the fact that I just had enough of the corporate world. I had enough of the corporate world. I had enough of the policies, the rings to kiss, all that stuff that came with it. And I wanted to have my own firm so I could build my own culture. I can cater to my clients the way that I want to and how I honestly feel like they deserve.
Well, I love your energy, and I love the passion that you have for what you do. And that is essential for the success of any business. And so now we talk about, the nation and the outlook on the nation. But let's go one level down and let's talk about our community, Rochester, the surrounding areas. what's your perspective? We were gaining some momentum in Rochester, in the city, great people investing. There was a lot of initiatives around that. Then COVID hit us. And, I went to see some restaurants. People are trying to reopen everything. Downtown, it's an amazing place. I love running in downtown Rochester and see the beautiful buildings and all that. What's your take of this economic development in Rochester, and how we can inject a new spirit here and continue with the momentum that we were having before?
Sure. So there's a lot of parts to that question. I'm going to try and pick it apart, but still keep it relatively broad. But I honestly feel that, yes, there was a lot of momentum leading up until COVID, right? Right. Obviously, COVID slowed a lot of things down. On a federal level, there's a lot of programs, not a lot, but there were some programs that were initiated to maybe help business owners, right? Through PPP loans, EIDL loans, help cover payroll, keep the lights on, the doors open in a sense, right? Really to help them do the best that they could to make sure that they had the ability to still stay open and cater to their customer, client, or onlooker, whoever stops by. But I think where we're at right now is the community as a whole is trying to find its new normal, right? I think the people that have the hardest time adjusting and adapting are probably holding on to what once was a little too much, and they need to just breathe a little bit and realize that things are probably not going to be exactly the same way that they were back before COVID hit. So the first aspect of understanding how to move forward is probably realizing acceptance of where we are right now, right? So with businesses starting to reopen, some businesses unfortunately didn't survive COVID and they had to close their doors, right? So not everybody's fortunate enough to make it, to this so-called, maybe hopefully the finish line of COVID, right? Or the restrictions and quarantines, let's put it like that. So, I think what we as a community are trying to figure out is test the waters to see what is this new normal, and how long will it last? And if there is some variant or strain, right? Because they're talking about maybe towards the end of the year, things may look different and all, we have to live a little bit more present-minded, but keep an eye on the fact that we may have to adjust and pivot yet again, right? So unfortunately, we're in some times right now where we haven't just, escaped all aspects of COVID-19. And, some people think it's fake news. Some people believe that we see the numbers, right? But, if we try and play bipartisan and shoot down the middle, what do we know for sure? We know for sure that the government reacted to it. We know that things got shut down. We know businesses closed. They're having a hard time reopening. They're having a hard time bringing people back to work because of unemployment. And that seems to be an issue as well. People are making more unemployment at home versus at work, depending on whether, they're taking advantage of the system or not. That has nothing to do with us. But for this conversation's sake, it's a reality. So what do we do, right? I don't have an answer for what do we do, except, live more in the moment with making sure, and of course, I'm from the wealth space, so I got to come back to this, it's really going to depend on what you've done over the past year with your life from a financial perspective. We all haven't had the opportunity to be out and about physically frequenting our favorite restaurants, right? We should have spent less, maybe, unless you're hitting the Amazon Prime button over and over and over, having that stuff delivered to the house. Come on, let's be honest. But more than likely, we should have maybe spent a little bit less. And if that's true, we should be in a position now where we can make sure that we get our finances together. We make sure that we're looking at our retirement plans. We're maxing those out as much as possible through work to reduce our taxable incomes. We're gonna make sure if we got kids and we wanna save for them, we can save in college plans and things like that, of that nature. And then what we see as left over, we can then spend on other things, right? Discretionary income we spend on going out to restaurants and things like that, right? So if you think about the stimulus packages that were offered, the 3 packages, right, that were offered, right? 2 last year, 1 this year, 2 under Trump, 1 under Biden, right? It was a stimulus because it's supposed to stimulate the economy, right? I don't think people ever had a problem spending money. I just don't think that they had the ability to go out and spend, so therefore they didn't. That was just my take on it. So now that people, are able to get out and do things and find this new normal, that may change the scene or the landscape a little bit. if that makes, I don't know. I have my own opinion about it, but I mean, I think Rochester has yet to hit its peak. I think it's a wonderful place to be. Like I said, I was born and raised here. I went away for 3.5 years, graduated college a little bit early, came back home. I've been doing this ever since. You know, they say young people leave all the time. Rochester's numbers, people are fleeing, right? The millennials, which technically I'm a part of that group, but a lot of us are leaving, and most times because of jobs, right? The Kodaks aren't around anymore. The Bausch and Lombs, in a sense, aren't around anymore. The Xeroxes aren't around anymore. So they leave for work or love.
I love, again, your perspective, Jarrett. I see that the future is bright for you and your organization. Clearly, you have a passion. And what I love is the capacity to be able to develop a business that is very personalized. It's the capacity to talk with the owner of the company, and having the advice from that is so important. And I love that concept to be a boutique, a very unique way to deliver financial management and also wealth management and all those components. Thank you again. Again, we will have you in the future in our show. And thank you for being part of this community. People like you who are investing in town, who are investing in this wonderful area. I'm sure that we will have in the future and seeing the growth of your organization. Thank you very much.
Coming up next week on Be Inspired, we'll meet Enrique Rioja, CEO of R&R Global Trading and Logistics, and hear his unique perspective on business and real estate.
To watch today's episode and the complete interviews of our guests, go to rochesterfirst.com/beinspired. For more great talk with Rochester's entrepreneurs, listen to Bodette 97.1, Saturdays at 9 a.m. For Mauricio Riveros, I'm Julio Saenz. We'll see you next week on Be Inspired.